Hi guys, welcome to a Saturday afternoon here on a SharePoint Saturday, kinda. Do you know, we set this up and we weren't supposed to be here. We thought it would be really, really cool if we were going to be presenting this from Japan.
Oh yes, yeah. So we should have been in Tokyo right now, but something kind of
Got in the
came
way.
between us.
Got in the way.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway,
All right. Welcome to our sessions on working with the business. This particular session is about Microsoft 365 Search. And if you caught before, as Marijn was just explaining, this is not an overly technical session. It really is about understanding how you can get best from Search by working with the business.
exactly. And this working with the business topic is really a series that we do. So we also have another one that is on how to prepare for Cortex, for example. You can probably find that on YouTube somewhere. This one is really around how to get the best results when you're working with the business on Microsoft 365 Search.
We have another one in production on working with the business on Fast and Furious for MS Teams governance.
Exactly.
Well, I've got to talk about that one yet, but
Yes.
we will do that one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, let's kind of move on. I'll just move the mouse across here and
Go.
click, and
Awesome.
it works.
So many sponsors. This is a free event and it's all online. So what are they gonna do with all this money? I've got no idea. Anyway, no, it's awesome. I know even it's an online event, there are still a lot of costs involved. So it is awesome to see that all these companies and definitely Belgium and Netherlands companies, but also international companies stay focused, stay sponsoring events like this. So that is just out of this world awesome.
So do we have to say thank you to all of them?
No, that's good. Just
Sure.
thanks all. Yeah.
Okay, just do one. Neat. All right.
Searching whiskey we've got on Discord.
Yes. Yes. If you have a list, we do have a list of all the whiskies that we spoke about in our podcast.
Yes, we do.
And in our tenant, we can search for those whiskies and identify which date we actually spoke about which particular whiskey and which one we like.
Exactly.
Because part of the problem with our podcast, there we go, is that of course we have so much whiskey we forget what we're drinking. No.
That is true. Yeah, that is true.
All right, let's just go back to the code of contact. Yes, this is an open platform, a community platform. So there are some rules. We don't want people to get annoyed at each other. I can't call you a rude name. I'll try not anyway. We'll see what happens.
That will be a first. But anyway, no, just behave. Everyone just behave.
Have fun.
Exactly.
Yourself, respect everybody. You guys probably know, some people already do. We're starting to get some comments. We do a podcast. We've been doing it for nearly 3 years now. 18, yeah, it will be 3 years next year.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah.
In a bit.
Yeah.
We're approaching our 50th podcast, which we think is cool. It's good fun. It's chilled out. It's relaxed. We had a busy few days. We spoke in Cincinnati yesterday at the SharePoint Saturday on a Friday. Yeah, not sure how that works out. And we then recorded a new podcast. So we've got an episode rock and rolling on adoption and change and from a different perspective. But it's just a chilled out podcast. And
yeah. And also, well, the how we set up this podcast is we always talk about technology for around 45 minutes. And then we always end with a whiskey tasting. That's where that distilled thing comes from. And I always make that joke that people are always saying that we should do the whiskey tasting before we talk about technology. But trust us, we tried that. That doesn't really work very well. Well, it works for us, but
and trust me, Marijn always makes that joke. So
yes, exactly.
But I promise you, for 2021, he'll have a new one. All right. So in our remaining 40 minutes, we're going to try and throw across a set of new concepts and ideas that we've been working on that based upon our experience around search. So we're going to look at business to IT, the success of search and how that relationship between the business, between IT is so key to get the most out of this. All of these business sessions are the same. Okay.
That's better.
Okay, it's better now, is it? Good. We're going to understand the importance of that business strategy. So we're going to say this is about a strategy. Understand how to get the process started. We're going to think in an agile way. Most of you that know me know that I'm very much into the agile process, as much as all of us are now, as our businesses move towards trying to do things in a more efficient way. We're going to look at setting up search and how to maintain that high quality service. And then we'll do a shallow dive as we go through this into some of the search and some of the admin pages.
Exactly.
Cool. So this is how we've tended to work for the last goodness knows how many years. On the left-hand side, IT comes up with all of these great solutions, and then they go to the business and say, hey, we're going to do this for you, as if we were kind of magnanimous and we're, supporting the business. And the reality is we don't really ask the questions as to whether the business need it or not. We just kind of give it to them. We go to a conference, we see this great new thing, and
shiny, we need this.
We
Implement it on Monday. Yes.
and then we try and do it, and it never works first time round, and it never really works because we don't know what we're trying to do with it and how well it would work.
It's just shiny and cool. So
and it's
who cares?
That's what we do.
Yeah.
Of course, that's what we're trying not to do now. What we're trying to do is move to the right-hand side. And the Agile process, of course, is about understanding from the business what it is that they need so that IT can focus on what they need to do. They can distill their objectives and their goal to deliver just the value that the businesses need. And that word value is key to all of this. We can turn search on. We're going to talk about in a second what you do out of the box. Great. Wouldn't it be great, though, if we can actually precisely focus their search results and to be able to give them the value they need without them having to do 2 or 3 refinement sessions on a search page? But to do that, we need to know what the business need. And that's why we're moving from left here to right, where we have a bigger input from the business. So what does this actually mean? So anytime in the business, something's either pulled or pushed, okay, as we're process driven. So I'm either having something coming in, I'm pulling information in, or I'm kind of pushing it on to the next stage in the process. And we support the business. That's what IT do, believe it or not. We get paid by the business to deliver the technologies and the processes and the tools and the applications and everything else that they need. So there's a couple of examples here of what we call user stories in an agile world, which is allowing us to precisely decide what will and will not add value. So as the owner of the staff review process in HR, I need managers to find the new updates for the annual review process before the May the 1st. So they want to push that information out so that the people that need it can find it. And there's lots of really cool tools and ways of doing that. Of course, we can have certain search terms and everything else that will make sure that they get to that information. As a compliance officer, I want to make sure everybody gets GDPR. And in the past, what does IT deliver? We deliver an intranet. And we say, hey, this is one-to-many information on the intranet. That's where you'll find the data. And of course, not all intranets are actually as focused as they need to be in terms of being able to find that data. And then on the other side, as the end user, as a receiver of that information, I kind of want to pull in this information around, that meeting video that we created. Or, hey, I want to look for how I complete my staff reviews if I miss the idea that somebody's pushing it into my inbox and I don't read that email. So agility is about being able to focus a specific kind of value and for us then to be able to deliver that value and work towards it. So this is where this concept of business to information technology comes in, B2IT. The idea is that the business define the value and what will deliver value into their business at the time, into their processes. The solution by IT is going to focus specifically on delivering that value. And it basically allows us to reduce things like scope creep and all that kind of stuff because we know what we need to do. And then we deliver it in what we call an iterative process. This is not an agile session. There are other sessions I do about building teams in an agile way. But effectively, it means we do things in little pieces and then we review with the business. So it's not just about saying to the business, give me a precise requirement about what I need. Tell you what, look, this is what I'm thinking of building. Let me show you what I've got so far. Tell me whether it's right. Do I need to change it? Is the right terms being used? Has anything changed since you came up with this idea? And then we review it and then we basically continually improve through feedback. So this business to information technology, if there's one message I want you to take you away is that IT cannot survive and deliver things efficiently and deliver value on their own. You have to do it with the business.
All right, cool. So agility is so important, or working in an agile way with the business is so important because what do you get out of the box? So if you just if you don't do anything, don't let anything, IT, blah, 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 don't work with the business at all and just have IT do their thing, then you just get the default thing that Microsoft's setting up. So that means you get context search out of the box, and you just get that boring search with the standard filters and your default verticals with all results, your files, your sites, your people. So just that.
Now, that might not be a bad thing, of course. There's that
Oh.
MVP, that minimum value proposition. That's what the business gets.
Oh, absolutely,
and
yeah.
it gets them search immediately, doesn't it? And then we can work out.
Yes,
how to
and
improve
that
it.
is, for example, one of the most important reasons that you would go from a file share into something like SharePoint, because at least it's getting picked up by the search.
Yep. Okay.
Even if you don't clean it up and whatever, at least it's getting picked up by the search, and at least you can do some extra stuff with that. So, for example, if you just go into SharePoint, and I really love the fact that Microsoft Search now has that search bar on top of every application. So if you go into your Outlook, into Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneDrive, SharePoint, doesn't matter, you always have that search bar in the middle, on the top. It's always at the same place, and that is super important for people who are not very used to working with computers, who don't know Control F, for example, to search things. So that is so important to have that there.
Front and center.
Exactly. Also super important is that without even searching for something, so I just click on that search bar without even searching for something, I already get some results. So the graph is already pushing some results. These might be the things that you are looking for. These might be the things that you want to know, that you want to search for. So I'm already delivering this to you.
So this is that HR guy who's saying, I want to be able to send out all of the latest review information so all the managers get to see it. So that would be top center.
Yes. In a perfect world, that would be showing up right there. Well, exactly.
If it's not there, that HR guy might have something to say to us.
Yes. You get the same thing. So when I actually do that search, I get my search result. I've got my verticals, so all files, sites, people, news. You can set up your own verticals. Super important, you cannot set up verticals that are coming from SharePoint content. So you can't say I've got a content type with manuals, for example, and I want to have a specific vertical with just the manuals from SharePoint.
Yeah. We're going to get onto those verticals later.
Yes,
so
of
we'll
course.
show you where
Yeah. So, and you've got that out of the box filter, which also is not that super good if you compare it with the things that you can do if you also add some PMP search web parts, for example. So this is the default search that you get. So this is what IT can deliver without talking to the business, without setting up extra stuff. Of course, you also have that on OneDrive. And of course, you also have that if you do that offline sync with your OneDrive or with your SharePoint. Then the trouble with that is that this only works with the titles, with the file names of your documents. So that's also important to know, because I know a lot of companies where they move from a file share into SharePoint, and they actually mainly are working with this because this will give them that same look and feel, that same experience as working with a file share. And when they search, they only get to search the file name, not the actual contents. If you go into SharePoint, if you go into that OneDrive search on the web, you will get much more out of that.
Yeah, I got a bit with this because I've told everybody how wonderful search is, and it searches the text and everything else, and then they showed me that this doesn't work. Yeah, okay, I agree. There's limitation. It's important to be accurate.
Exactly.
I'm assuming you're just tracking on the questions there in case anything comes
Yeah.
Move forward.
Sure.
So how do we move forward? Well, one of the things that we really need to understand is that search is not something that you can contain in a box. It's a 6-week project. We turn it on, we work out what they need, and we're done. It's not a feature. Search is a strategy. It's actually something that the business is going to continually need to do as their search requirements change, as their information requirements change, and as the content they need to deliver to particular audiences also changes, also updates as their priorities and their strategy updates. So within Office 365 or Microsoft 365, that search strategy needs to be something that's constantly in play and constantly being reviewed. From an agile perspective, from a sort of an epics, a quarterly planning, then it's a case of every quarter understanding what the changes are within the business, understanding what is key information and making sure that people can get to it quickly and easily. In the past, of course, what do we know? We only know what IT needs. We only know what IT can present. We only know how you can get something fixed. We don't know specific business needs unless we include them and incorporate them within our planning. We listen to them, we give them an opportunity to have their say and to put their words forward.
Yes, this is such a funny story. He can talk for hours and hours and hours around that organizational structure and how that came to be from the old age and the Middle Ages and Romans, and so yeah, I'm just gonna let him rabbit a bit about this part.
You just wanted to hijack this, didn't you?
Shall
I just move on?
No, we had this in another conversation where he was just talking about this slide for 30 minutes. So anyway,
what happened was when we started putting this presentation together a few months ago, I was saying, hey, yeah, we need to put some organizational structure stuff in. And it was one of those Saturday mornings with not a lot to do. And all of a sudden I went down the rabbit hole on organizational structure and was, wow, this is cool. But it's been around a long time and it's changing. If we just take these last 2 or 3 bullets here. So in the 1930s, they started to realize that as an organization, it's about producing something. It was about making that thing in the refinery and about putting the organization structure together to produce that. But in the 60s, as we started to kind of think a little bit more and understand technology and how that can help us, then it was starting to focus on skills and knowledge. And we've seen that change in the 70s and 80s when people, you can move from one career to another career quite easily because they're actually after the people skills. And now, of course, organizational structure is about delivering strategy and management behavior. And after COVID, I'm actually guessing this is going to change significantly again as we obviously start working from home on a more regular basis. Because one thing that this new way of working has done has made organizers realize they can save money. Why do we actually need offices, heating, and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
So it will change. But from a search perspective, understanding the organizational structure within your business and how that works is really, really key, because you need to understand where those decisions are and where those information is that's needed. So, for example, at the top organization, your own chief information officer, your own, hey, yes, my boss.
The big kahuna.
The big kahuna, yes. He presumably should be, and if he isn't, you could go and ask, is sending you the feedback from the top of the organization. How are they getting to their data? Do they get to easily, or are there problems? Is there a general amount of feedback? So you're getting some information from the CIO. We also, of course, get information from this delivery matrix at the bottom here. Now, I know that we've all heard about Cortex and Syntex and all that kind of stuff. And these guys are obviously on the ground floor. They know the content, they know the processes, they know how things work. So there's a lot of information there around that delivery matrix. In terms of search, though, the area that we really need to look at is just around here at the lower management level. And these are the guys that can define our search needs and requirements that we need to deliver as IT into the business. I've just chosen 3 here: technical managers, the process management teams, the services like HR and finance and that kind of stuff. Okay. They all know what the business needs to be able to fit in with their processes and everything else. And one of the first things that you need to do is to identify who these search definition experts are. It could well be somebody from the delivery matrix, especially if you're a production organization. But if you're a services organization, then it's really that kind of lower management level where they're touching the workforce that understands what I need to have searched, when I need to have searched, how people can find it, and how I can communicate how people can find that content through best bet searches. So the search definition experts are really, really important when it comes to that business to IT and the relationships that we have. They're not at the bottom end, like a lot of our process-driven stuff. They're slightly over and above there. Once we understand what it is that they're looking for, we then have to work out how we package those results and how we get to them. And there's a number of things here we're going to drill down into in the sort of remaining 20 minutes here. And this is a list of them. So direct links. Are we just going to put a link on our homepage or on our search page or a best bet search that just provides employee value immediately? So I know that if I do this, I will get that. And it's a guaranteed result. It's a different kind of search. if I'm looking at search logs and pages, or generating traffic, or how do I find who to support something, then when I search something, I might end up with multiple results, and some will be more important than others. So we need to be able to define those results. We also need to think about timelines. So there are going to be business cycles that will be running all the time. Again, I know I keep referring to Agile, but there's a quarterly process in Agile. There's a quarterly sales process in sales. There's a quarterly reporting process from your C levels. And you need to be able to make sure that your search results are aligned to those business cycles. If I search for annual report on my intranet, I don't want to get an annual report that's 5 years old. I want to be able to make sure that I get the latest one. If I'm looking at shift patterns for October, so that I can work out where my shift is, because I'm not using bookings yet, but or teams and shifts. But if I'm looking for that, then I want to see the shift pattern that is current now. So again, it just goes and identifies that search is not a one-off project that I can say, yes, shift patterns now works. Shift patterns will need tweaking so that I get the newest one and the latest one, so that I'm not wasting people's time. HR, finance, legal, lots of frequently asked questions. So when I ask a question, I want to be able to get that question answered. Plus, internal communications will want to tell you about where the company is externally, what they're sponsoring, maybe what events they're doing, those kinds of things. And then, of course, we've got some apps that we will look at a few of those a little bit later on, but people want to know how to do something. And finally, one of the big things, local transportation, how I can get to work. Does my carbon footprint for driving in the morning affect the business? Am I part of what? Do I get a local access to a gym? Those kinds of things, which are all those new starter things that people need to get to. So defining the results based upon what the business is saying we need to be able to put on there, making sure that they are appropriate filtered, is equally part of the success criteria for a successful search strategy.
And for example, onboarding is also super important for this, because when you've got new people coming into your organization, they don't know the structure of your content management set yet. So if you define super good search results based on the questions that they might ask, that will deliver them an awesome first workday experience.
And of course, you get most of those results from the statistics.
Exactly. So there are a number of ways how you can actually monitor your search terms and your search results. So most of these are in those classic SharePoint way of working. So you can definitely see, for example, what people have been searching on, but also what items people have been searching on but haven't really been finding any results, of searches where they don't get any results, for example. So those are really important things that you can also monitor, that you need to monitor. So you need to find some hit rates on policy documents, on HR documents, finance documents. So very important to see if people are looking for them and if they're actually finding these things. So that brings us to Microsoft Search. So within your admin center, Microsoft Search has its own admin center. Very important to know that the top queries and the impressions that you see here, they're all coming from that integration with the Bing search, with that search for Bing integration. So if you don't have that on, you will probably not see a lot of these things here. But super important, here is the place where you can actually set up all those extra things. So you can set up those bookmarks, those Q&As, those location and the floor plans. So floor plans, you need some AutoCAD drawings for that. It's pretty difficult to set up. Verticals, you can add those here as well. So this is actually where you build all that configuration in the search admin part. So next to that, you've got your classic SharePoint usage reports. So you will find these in the SharePoint admin center, and you can actually find, okay, what are people looking for? What are my top queries every day? What are abandoned queries? So people are starting to search for something, but they're not following up, or they're not clicking on anything. So they kind of say, it's probably not there. I'm not going to find it. I'm just going to leave it for now. So these are things that you definitely need to monitor. So these are Excel files, CSV files that you get for 30 days. So I think it's very important to every month to pull these off, store these somewhere, and then you can actually build some really impressive reports around that for when you need these. So definitely talk with the business around things that you can find here, because these are super insightful.
Yeah, that's where Power BI comes into it, of course. You can just pile all of these presentations, cut and paste them into one, run your reports, find out what your stats are, and you're moving. We recorded episode 46 of the podcast yesterday, and one of the things that we spent a lot of time talking about was return of investment on adoption. And it's exactly the same here. These search results are telling you how successful your search strategy is.
Mhm.
And if your business is saying, hey, this is what I need, can you do this? And they're working with you about apps they need, about plans, about the kind of search results that they need, then you can prove, you can deliver, you can identify, hey, look, we're now starting to improve the search results in this space, in this area, and you can confirm that, you know, what you're being asked to deliver value on, you are being delivered value on.
Sure.
And you can also then justify all of the time and effort being spent into search as part of your operational run.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of data here.
Maybe one more example from one of my customers. So they were complaining that search was not really working. So we dove into those top queries, and we saw that the first result had around 6,000. Well, it was searched 6,000 times. The second one was searched 200 times. So the first one was really all the way up there, super important. Everyone was looking for it, and what they were actually looking for was the link to the timesheet application. So what we then did was just put that link for the timesheet application on the homepage of the intranet, and suddenly we saw a big drop of those those search queries for that application. So we were actually helping people finding things like that application, and that is where the power of these reports come from.
It also identifies why it's so important to do business to IT. And the business is delivering a clear message there. All right, I'm trying to find something and I can't find it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Search for it.
Yeah.
And
because we from IT, we say, well, it's super clear where that is. It's under this level, that level, that level, and there you can find all the applications, and then you have to click this one open and you find HR application, click this one open. Timesheets, super easy to find.
What are you struggling with? It's
exactly.
easy.
So, and that was the response from the business. We're all searching for it because we can't find it. So we catch that there, and we change the link, the location of the link, and now everyone is super happy.
So here's a question for everybody. So you got the chat here. So why don't you just drop into the chat and tell us, give us a yes or no. In the last 30 days, has any of you ever been to have a look at these search results? We'll come back and just have a look at that in a minute. But
yeah,
they're telling you everything you need to know about searching in your environment. Let's just see whether, just give us a no or a yes, and let's just see how many people. We promise you we won't start emailing you with, oh, you don't look at the search results. We've got some really good consultancy services on this. We won't do that. We've also read the
yeah,
but it would be good. Is there 40% of you looking at them, or none of you? Because my guess is there might be one of us here or that actually regularly look at these search results.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So what have we talked about so far? Just checking the time. Yeah, we're on time. Good. So we are looking at working with the business to identify the kinds of things they need to see in search, the kinds of information that are important, etc., and etc. So what kind of stuff will we need to manage, and what kinds of information will we get from those search definition experts? So we can create answers to business questions. So we talked about frequently asked questions. So how do I find my expense reports? How do I report a problem? How do I raise a purchase order? How do I recruit staff from home, whether there's a policy associated with it, etc., etc. Then we can obviously do those kinds of questions and ask and answer those questions. We can focus on types of information here. So which keywords will give what kind of results? And all of these are available in the admin. What bookmarks do I need to put into place so that that information is easily available, like the link to the timesheet? The locations of the organization, where is it that we work? Where do people sit? The floor plans, the idea that, you know, now I can have a map of my house, or tried this joke yesterday. It didn't quite work, did it? But if I do a floor plan now, then you need to have my office. I have my fish tank behind me. That's yeah, okay. Maybe not the floor plans is so important nowadays, but there you go. But those questions and those acronyms in the organization, they're also so key.
Yes, and just to interrupt you very rudely here, acronyms
never bothered you before.
No, exactly. But acronyms is the perfect example of talking with the business. I mean, as IT, you can never know all the acronyms that have been used on the shop floor, in marketing, in R&D, all these things that they're doing. You have no idea what they're searching, what
we've
they're
got
using.
a slide on this later, don't you?
Oh, yeah. Oh, well.
Sorry.
Yes.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
No, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
I would just have a quick count of the yeses and nos while I just finish these last 2 items.
Well, everybody just says no, but some of the people are going to look at it for Monday. So
because now you know. So
yes.
there you go. The takeaway value from the SharePoint Saturday is I'll take a quick look at those stats.
Yes.
But anyway, in terms of setting decisions, so there's some things you need to decide around your governance. We talked about those Bing results. You need to decide whether or not you are going to put Bing in. One of the big musts here is before you go and check the box that says put search on Bing, just let your security team know that you're going to do it and let them ask their questions, because on Monday morning, they will come and jump on your desk when they suddenly get Bing popping up with a combination of your data and internet data and all that.
There
kind of
will
stuff.
be questions.
There will be questions.
Yeah.
So integrating that Bing search, we've got the new tab in Edge now, which gives you a lot more information and gives you the recent and the graph stuff.
That is actually awesome stuff.
I
saw it on your PC. I didn't even know about it. Didn't even set it up. I just saw it at your thing. I was like, oh, how did he do that? That is pretty awesome.
It is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But trust me, when I've tried to go to the organization, explain this, okay, we need to do a few things first. So I end up with a bunch of questions I have to get right confirmations from Microsoft before security gives them. Anyway, continual improvement. How are you going to improve on a month-to-month basis? And then, of course, those questions around search and what I'm going to search for. And also, you must identify the owners of the core content. These people are going to be your partners in this episode for the next year or so, whether it's information technology, human resources director, the purchasing team. They all own data, and it will be something that you are going to present as part of your search results.
No. Oh yeah, that's mine. Yes.
We might do something here on acronyms.
Yes, exactly. AAA, adding an acronym, because AA was already taken by something else. So exactly. No, but you get all that. So you're talking to the business, you get all that feedback, you get all that information. So now you can actually do a number of things. So you can actually add those bookmarks. You can ask those frequently asked questions, add those acronyms. You can do a really quick import if you just let them fill in an Excel file or something. Just send that around, grab all that thing, just have a big import. So that is super easy. Also, something that I really like to do, and this is something that is also very much linked to the whole knowledge management within the organization, and something that they're probably not doing at the moment. So what I ask for companies is we just list all the departments that they have on the top. We list them on the left-hand side as well. And then we ask from every department, okay, what is the number one thing that the other departments need to know from you? And this actually came from one of my customers, where the shipping department was actually very mad at the R&D department, because the people from R&D were building or were drawing out machines that were too big to fit into a shipping container. So the people from shipping always had all these things to do. So they really said, okay, what we really want R&D to know is how big a shipping container is and how they need to redraw all these things so that they can actually fit in there. So that was their number one concern. But if you're talking about sourcing, if you're talking about HR, about IT, about whatever department, just what are the things that the other department needs to know? And also, if you talk about search, or what are the things that these people will probably need to search for? What is the information, the number one information that they need to know? So these could be things that you do every month, every 3 months, maybe every year. But this is an important exercise to get that knowledge management across and to get that search results to improve as well.
So that's the push. The push says, I need them to know this. I need them to know the size of the shipping container so that they've got no excuses. But there's also the pull. Okay, the I don't know what you don't know, and I don't know what you're going to need. So then I have the responsibility for making sure that when you need it, you can find it, so that you can pull that information where accordingly. Which basically means that marketing needs to be able to have their latest and greatest sales brochures and the plans and their roadmap for that product information, so that anytime anybody needs it, it's available there to be pulled from me. And when they pull it, it's always going to be the latest and greatest content.
And this is also a super cool example of things that you can, for example, set up. And this is an example, I think, from Ignite last year, where they actually build a Power App as a search result. So what that you could do, for example, is if you're looking for, okay, how many vacation days do I have left? Instead of giving you a link to your HR system where you also need to log in, you've got that all different look and feel, all that different navigation. So you need to find all between all these numbers what you can do. Well, in this case, they actually made a little Power App. So if I'm looking for, okay, how many vacation days do I've got left, or time away, or whatever that you want to search for, this actually gives you a really easy Power App to just say, okay, these are the amount of vacation days that you've got left. You could do that with a bunch of HR things. You can, like, for example, you can show things that people can easily fill in instead of linking to whatever. And this just makes the life of your end users so much easier.
Yeah, it gives them one place to find all their content, doesn't it?
Exactly.
Through your search results.
Yes.
This example, I happen to know from Microsoft, they have a very old system for tracking annual leave and number of days in left. So, and again, this is not a Power Apps session, of course, but they put a connector into their old system, created the Power Apps form, and then included that in the search. And then they removed the old system from their search results. So now everybody just goes through to here, and they get it in a nice, easy way. And of course, all the advantages that Power Apps has with it.
Exactly.
Oh, we could add an acronym.
Yes. So this is, for example, how that would work if you would want to add these acronyms and these Q&As and whatever. So I really encourage you, definitely for the acronyms, is send out an email to all the managers in all departments. This is low-hanging fruit. This is
absolutely
like it's almost rotting on the ground. That's how low kind of fruit this is. So write an email to every manager in the department. Say, okay, here's an Excel file. Just fill it in with what are the acronyms that you're using in your department. What is the short explanation and what is the long explanation? Just send that out. Say, okay, just send that back to me in a week or in 2 weeks. And all these results that you get, just import them in this one, and then next time somebody looks for this specific acronym, they will actually find these results.
Now, if you haven't fallen asleep yet, if you look closely at the slide, you'll notice that not everything is an acronym. Okay, so it's also those key terms within the business that people need to understand about. It's not just a a 3-letter acronym or a 4-letter acronym. So there's a definition in this particular example of contract and compulsory damages. So people are able to go and look at those. It's not just acronyms. So it's really about being able to put those kinds of pieces and information in place.
Exactly.
But of course, IT doesn't want to be at the center of all of this. Okay, we don't want to have to say, hey, if you've got an acronym, from now onwards, now we've got it set up, I want you to raise a ServiceNow ticket, and we'll get the ServiceNow ticket and we'll update it. As you start to build that partnership with the business, within the business and IT, then you can start to give them the ability to do some of these things themselves as you start to trust them, as they start to understand that kind of responsibility. And of course, there's more and more specific roles and admin roles being added into the tenant so that you can do it in a safe way. But this is something that needs to be done as a group, as a board. So moving forward, we've got a couple of suggestions here on how B2IT can be enhanced and brought together and formed within your organization. And it works on the basis that search results are always enterprise wide. You don't know what you don't know. And consequently, the enterprise could have 10,000 items and I only need to see 2,000. But that comes from the idea that the business and IT are working together. So put together a search design board. It could be an offshoot to your managed metadata board. If you have a board that's managing your search, your knowledge items, your knowledge terms. If you're going to go down the cortex route, of course, with your what's the term?
Subject matter experts.
Subject matter experts. It could be part of that, depending on how big it gets. But it basically means that those enterprise type things are kind of defined by management. Instead of it being one person, because I'm the guy that manages search, I kind of have the responsibility for getting it right. I have the responsibility for researching it. Whereas if we can identify a group of people that will take responsibility for this, then you're actually sharing the load and you're removing the risk, and you're increasing the opportunity to get more and more information and the right information to the owners. To the people searching for the results. And you can identify the owners that you need to contact on a regular basis, decide whether they're going to join the board, and of course, finally identify the right audiences for that information. And it's only when you kind of get this relationship with the business that those statistics and search results that we were showing you earlier start to add value. The reason that we've got so many no's, nobody's looked at those search results, because nobody cares about them. And even on Monday, God bless every one of you, on Monday, you go and look at those search results. If you have nobody to discuss them with or nobody to share them with, then, hey, there's a word for this, but we've signed so I'm not really allowed to. But you can go and play with your own data, but it is really better if you can share it with other people.
No, absolutely, because people might be looking at let's take a typical marketing example, the Mark V blueprint. Yeah, but you're working in IT. You don't have an idea what that Mark V thing is. So you need to talk to production. You need to talk to R&D to find out, okay, this is the search term that people are looking for. But where do we need to link that to? What kind of result do we want to show if people are looking for this?
And we'll never know. So there's a couple of key messages that I want to.
Sorry, we'll never know.
No, we won't. IT, I meant, not you and
yes,
I.
Yes, okay.
And IT,
okay.
yeah. Now, we'll always know because we're consultants. It depends on who we ask.
Yes.
So understand the value of working with a business. That's the key message that we wanted to be able to present here. So enterprise messages defined by management, etc., and be agile. Understand what you can do quickly. We've shown you the admin. I know we've not doing a deep dive into it, 45 minutes. We want to really get these messages across, but you can fail fast. Put a search term in. Nobody's using it. Wow, the stats are saying let's turn that off. Let's make just that a normal result. Learn from those. Repeat the exercise until you get it better, and allow you to be constantly improving those search results for the business. And eventually everybody will see how well that's doing. So possible next steps and approach as we move to the last few slides in our last 50 seconds. Choose your search design board members carefully. The people that understand I need to get and push my information out. Understand the value of search. So every time you have a strategy call, every time your boss starts talking about it, then make sure that search is in there and people understand that it needs to get in there. Okay. Write user stories so that you can define the value that you're delivering. Oh, you want to be able to do this? Great. Don't walk away. Sit there and say, okay, so as a user, I would like to be able to use this search term and get these results. And then you've got a precise item to define and a precise amount of value that you can deliver, and prioritize them, and use that design board to prioritize the work you do within search. That's so important. And you're just going to check the questions and make sure there's nothing, because I think we're now on the last slide. So
yes. So we've got a question from Frederick saying, starting with a client where people are complaining they can't find anything. So we should set this up with them to keep an eye on those reports, for example, and have a board to do something about it. Yes, exactly. So that is definitely the first thing that you need to do. But also super important, announce this to the end users. Say, look, we know you can't find anything, but we're working on it. Because if people... If I'm trying something, I'll try it, and next week I'll try it again, and then the week after that I'll try it again. But if I'm failing, I'm just not going to use it anymore. So search doesn't work. So I'm not going to search for it anymore. I'll just save a copy on my own desktop. I don't care anymore. No, let people know, look, we're working on the search. So we've got a few people working together. So tell us what you're searching for. Tell us what you can't find. Maybe one of the things that you could do, for example, is create a little form in Forms saying, look, this is what I was searching for. This is what I was expecting, but this is what I got, or this is not what I got. Something like that.
It's definitely true to be able to have kind of a search response in your service now. The other thing that you always need to remember in Office 365, and it's a completely different kind of presentation here, is how your retention and how your record management is affecting your search results. Because it could well be that you have a blanket retention of a number of years, and unless those things are not actually been taken out of the search index, they're going to keep coming back as results. So that's
Exactly.
part of the refinement.
Yes. One of the things that I've got with a customer of mine is that I know.
Seconds.
Yeah. So we're the last thing. So what I've got with a customer, really big organization, and the communications department is putting out lots of news with documents and pictures and stuff like that. But all those things sitting in the documents library of the internet, it's also being captured by the search. So when I search for something, these are things that are coming up way up high. So that's probably not what you want. So also define these are the libraries that don't need to be picked up by search anymore. So that's all that we wanted to say. That's us. So please feel free.
That we haven't answered?
No, we need to wrap up. I will be on the Discord. So if you got any questions, leave them there. If you got any questions later on, talk to us on Twitter or somewhere else at SciSteve. That's this guy at Marijn Somers. That's me. Listen to our podcast, and that's it.
That's true. Good. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for having us. It was awesome. I'm gonna mute you guys. Put in
finally, that's the best thing you've done all day. Yes.
Yeah, you sure? I'm gonna start commercials, and then we're gonna be back in 50 minutes with Carmen, who's gonna talk about boosting your adoption in Microsoft 365. So that sounds interesting as well.
The Omita framework is an enterprise-ready software platform that makes it possible to set up an easy integration between your existing back-office applications and push all the relevant information into digital workplaces. Omita has developed various kinds of solutions which can be easily deployed and linked to your back-office applications. Omita has solutions for contract management, HR to speed up onboarding and offboarding processes, sales dashboards, shop floor portals, and many more. If you want more information, visit our website.